Hi, everybody. So this is a weird talk. I like that. Yeah, it's not going to give you any actionable insights into your business. I'm not predicting anything concrete for the future. And it's also a bit offensive. So hope everybody's okay with that. If you're the type who gets offended by ideas, I would leave now. Don't worry, the next slide's not offensive, so you'll actually have a little bit of time to leave. So if you could all, this also, I'm not that much of a visual content producer. You saw my first slide. So this is going to require a bit of an active imagination. And we are all here together going on a journey. And for this talk to work, you guys really need to, it's very easy to view these things as applying to the other. It's harder to see them as applying to you. So maybe another word that historically has been used, this is a bit of a religious talk, is faith. Now, maybe this word gets a bad rap. Maybe faith usually is accepting things that aren't true or are provably false. But you just have to accept them on faith, and that's charlatanism. When I talk about faith, what I talk about is things that aren't provably true or false. And I can make arguments, but there is no concrete proof in any of this talk. If I had concrete proof, I wouldn't tell you guys. They also might be watching. No, but like really. So just, if you guys have heard of Roko's basilisk, I don't know if they'll reward you for this or punish you for this, but they might be watching, right? Just as if you're in the kernel, it's easy for you to watch the memory of any user space process. So the year's 2011. I got sued by Sony. Being in a lawsuit is a really trying experience. I had a panic attack. This was real scary. But how do you deal with this kind of stuff, right? I made a rap song yelling at Sony. And then kind of, attempt to prove that I wasn't like an unemployable outcast. I got a job at Facebook. I quit that job. They tell you the second day I'm at Facebook, they tell you the truth. Google's all about we're trying to organize the world's information. The second day you're there, a real slick marketing guy dressed in a suit. This is back before Google went kind of the way they did now. Google still was kind of tech utopian. Facebook says, here's the number of minutes the world has spent on Facebook. It's your job as an engineer here to get this number to go up. This was 2011. So it's the end of 2011, and I'm at the movies. I'm at a movie theater. And everyone's heard this simulation hypothesis. I'll go through it quickly, just in case you haven't, and maybe because some of the arguments are kind of wishy-washy. So here we are on Earth, and we've created a lot of worlds. You may argue that these worlds are not that complex, but they are worlds in and of themselves, and we did create them. So if you were inside one of those worlds, it would be right for you to believe the simulation hypothesis. If you're Mario inside of Super Mario 64, the correct hypothesis to believe is the simulation hypothesis, that you're in a simulation created by a higher world. So we can make this graph and put this down here. And our world is likely a simulation created by, and I'll use the word God. I think it's a good word for our creator. It's what they've been called historically. And it stands to reason that they also probably created a bunch of other worlds. Now, don't think of God as some mystical wizard. Look, he's even painted, looks like Gandalf, right? Don't think of God as a wizard. Think of God as a computer programmer. Because that's probably much more likely. Who created the worlds in our world? Computer programmers. So what is God? God's probably a computer programmer. So the simulation hypothesis goes on to say this is probably a big tree. God probably is not the root node. Right, so what are the odds that we're this one? Well, it seems pretty low. I don't know, maybe there's like 40 nodes up on that thing, so it's like 1 in 40. There's probably actually a lot more nodes. You can draw a much bigger tree, but I think it would kind of lose its effect on the slide. So yeah, odds are we're in a simulation. That's the simulation hypothesis 101. So I'm at the movies. I'm walking up to the ticket counter. 2011 was a rough year. I took you ever take Kratom? It's good. No, it's kind of shitty, but so I'm standing there. I'm walking up to the ticket counter. And this comes back to what I said before. It's when I first really realized that the simulation hypothesis applies to me. This isn't some hypothetical weird game that's being played here. This is actually my life that's being spoken about. I am actually in a simulation, and so are you. I was raised atheist. Probably most of y'all were too. I'm not going to ask that as a poll question. But I was told about the Big Bang, right? You're a fool if you believe in creationism, that the world was created 6,000 years ago by a god. And I mean, this is kind of probably pretty foolish. But then you're told this alternative thing. You're told about the Big Bang, and the Big Bang is what created the universe. Well, what created the Big Bang? This doesn't answer any questions. It's one of these, I think Eliezer Yudkowsky talks about them as like stopping points, right? If you'll ask a religious person, well, what created the world? God, and you ask them what created God, well, they're like, God always is and always will be. So maybe what created the Big Bang? Well, quantum fluctuations in the time-space. Okay, what created that, right? This is not an answer. Look at this guy. Alfred Wolfric of Stormwind. That's his name, right? I don't know, it's been a while since I played Skyrim. You think he's an atheist? Well, if he was an atheist, he'd be an idiot, because these are his gods. That's the Skyrim development team. Has it occurred to everyone in here who's an atheist that you actually may be wrong? All right. The arrogance of atheists, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. Let's take a little aside here. These are some physics equations, right? So if you believe that our universe is simulatable, I think you can go to the Church-Turing thesis, and I think there's like a Church-Turing, some guy extended the thesis to say all physical processes are simulatable by a Turing machine. And if you believe this, you can compute a Turing machine on paper, right? You're writing out all the equations carefully for the universe. What do those equations look like when they're simulating a person screaming? Look at this guy. You really see the similarities. You are in a video game. Go back to what I said at the beginning of the talk. This talk's going to require imagination and faith. And I want you to take a minute, not a whole minute, a minute's actually a really long time, but take a little bit of time and really think that maybe you are. They really might be watching this right now. It's unlikely that they're actually watching it. Probably, I mean, think about if you had built like a big MMORPG, right? It's unlikely that the game creators are actually zoomed into your individual tile right now. Are you sure that that's not what happens to you when you die? But really, you know, again, I was raised atheist, and you dismiss the notion of the afterlife, and you dismiss the notion of heaven as like almost a childish fantasy. But why is this not true? Like, why is this? Let's even go a little more earthly here. Let's say that future me is bored, and like, I write myself a video game. I don't want to enjoy the game, right? I mean, if you really want to enjoy games in the future, you're going to need to selectively mute certain parts of the memory. And clearly, that's what happened there, right? So maybe Maybe these were the greatest years of my life, and in the future, I create a video game so I can replay them. And that's where I am right now. Now, I'm not sure about this. I'm not willing to die to find out. But how do you know? Now, it's easy to dismiss this. It's easy to just be like, no, I've been set in my ways for many, many years, but there's no real proof or evidence that this isn't true. Let's talk about, I have a little story I made up called The Parable of the Caged Tiger. And it's about a tiger in a zoo, but it's a nice zoo. It's not like a sad zoo where we put the tiger in a small cage. It's not like that. It's a nice zoo, and the tiger is in a beautiful, lush meadow with plenty of room to roam. And in his youth, he does roam. He roams from the fake wall on one side to the fake trench on the other side. And he knows intellectually that tigers are in zoos, and that zoos keep tigers in cages. But he sees no evidence for this cage. Remember, he's a tiger. He only has a tiger brain. And when he walks around, he can't seem to think anything, can't seem to find any evidence. So he goes on and hunts as a tiger, has a nice tiger family. Nice tiger family, right? He dies a nice tiger death. He's never that bothered by the fact that he's in a cage. Now come to you. You're a human. You live your nice human life. Maybe you haven't been to space, but you've heard that humans have been there. You haven't been to the bottom of the ocean, but you heard James Cameron's been there. So you're pretty confident that you're not in a cage. Well, but so is the tiger. And what the tiger doesn't see is the zookeeper. The zookeeper is so much smarter than the tiger. And I think this is an idea that is finally starting to be accepted. Like, if you think of yourself as an intelligent agent, even the dumbest humans are far smarter than the smartest monkeys. But it's easy to imagine things that are so much smarter than you. And they could build a cage that you couldn't recognize. Who's your zookeeper? This is impossible for you to conceive. Just as the tiger, you can't imagine something smarter than you. Or you can imagine it, but you can only imagine it in the vaguest terms. If you could imagine a chess player that was as good as Garry Kasparov, you could use your imagination to play chess as good as Garry Kasparov, right? Just ask your imagination what the imaginary version would do, and you have the right move. You can't imagine this zookeeper, but you can't rule it out. So if we're in a video game, are you a player character or a non-player character? Well, what's the difference? The difference I like is player characters know that they're in a game. All right. Maybe we'll do this. Show of hands, how many people seriously consider this as a possibility? Cool. All right, so how do we get out? So we're probably running in a data center somewhere. Probably looks like this. Futuristic data center, right? Like up there. It's not here. The data center is not here. I want you to think about the computer that's running Skyrim. The computer running Skyrim is not in the Skyrim world. Alfred Stormcloak could walk from the Dragon Mountains all the way down to the Lazy Ridge, and he wouldn't find any evidence of the computer. So you're not going to find any evidence of the data center looking around here. But what if we could? Let's hack into the computer running the simulation and rewrite the operating system of nature. Every bad thing that happens in the world today, murder, rape, death, illness, losing $20, dropping it on the sidewalk, happens because the laws of nature allow these things. If we could hack into the computer running nature, we could change the rules. We could change the rules governing our simulation. It sucks that we're not in control of it. We're put here. I really believe this stuff. Like, I sit here, like, I look around at me, and I'm like, I was put here. I didn't ask to be born. And it seems like I'm in somebody else's simulation. When I was 8, I played this game a lot. Super Mario World, SNES. I used to go over to my aunt's house, like go in a basement, and I'd play this game. And I put hundreds of hours into it. Right? I wanted to unlock all the secrets of the game. And when I'm 9, I go to Toys R Us. I had Jeffrey bucks. Toys R Us was still around. I bought a Game Genie. You guys remember these? Yeah. So you unplug the Super Mario World cartridge, you plug it into the top of the Game Genie, you plug the Game Genie back into the Nintendo, and you could give yourself infinite lives. You could make it so the enemies didn't affect you. You could always give yourself wing cap that you couldn't lose. It's nice. And that's even in a low consequence world. Today's world, if you think there's any real consequences, think of what we could change. Now, I'm not sure I want them, unplugging the cartridge, running the universe. I don't know how the save states work. I don't even know how we'd ask God to put the Game Genie in. But do we have to? And so what happened? He did a lot of weird stuff. Moved a bunch of shells around, moved a bunch of Goombas, jumped on a bunch of people, did some weird stuff with Yoshi. What that was doing was setting up the memory of the metacomputer in such a way that after he triggers the final exploit, the processor jumps to his arbitrary code. There are no Pong and Snake mini-games hidden in Super Mario World. Those were completely injected. That is arbitrary code execution on the Super Mario World game. So Seth Bling did a bunch of YouTube videos about this as well. That is a hex editor actually running inside of Super Mario. And that's the hex editor hex editing itself. So if you're Mario, now you might think, okay, well, what does it mean to be Mario? Assume that Mario is an intelligent agent. Assume that Mario is the kind of agent that can think. Right? And we're kind of there. If you guys have seen GPT-2 and stuff, we have agents that are capable of thinking, and maybe they do start to think about how to get out. Mario could do Mario science. He could figure out when he puts shells in weird places that weird things happen. We've kind of seen things like this in our universe. We just call them physics. But maybe there's weird quirks. And maybe we could actually get in some if you're exploiting a system, if you're exploiting a computer, a lot of the things you'll do are at best going to crash the computer. Maybe that's equivalent to you get a black hole, right? That's when the universe is just I'm not simulating this. But what if you could put it in weird states, right? And this is the question. Where do we start to get at the states? And the takeaway is that it's possible to take actions here that affect the upper world. And it kind of has to be. There is no way in a simulation that we build to have state represented only in that world. I mean, the state has to be represented in this world as well. So for us, when we do things here, we have to be affecting things in the upper world. When we move, when I move, whatever's tracking me has to change some physical state in the upper world. So it's possible to take an action, and we just need to figure out kind of what the action space is, how we can get at exploiting it. But I want you to, it's about imagination. I want you to imagine really doing this. Being in a basement, sitting at a computer, and typing some stuff in, and starting to see exploits, starting to see places where this universe breaks down. We are in a video game. I don't know about the people out there. I heard another thing when I was younger, another one of these let's debunk religion kind of things, that your soul weighs 21 grams. Some guy showed this. Weighed a body and waited for the body to die and show that it lost 21 grams of weight. This is obviously absurd. This wouldn't even make sense even if you believed a religious view of souls. But to give information-based arguments for why we can't, why there's no afterlife, they don't really hold up because it's out of band. Imagine you have a kernel and it's running a bunch of user space processes. We're a user space process in the simulator computer. The kernel can access any of our memory without us knowing. In fact, they can pause the simulation whenever they want without us knowing as well, right? If the simulation follows some kind of rules. So, there's no reason that anything would have to be physically detectable in this world for even like an afterlife and souls to be real. Look at this guy. His soul has an address in RAM. So this brings me to the next part of the talk. What are you doing with your life? Like, really, if you start to believe this stuff, a lot of people, okay, there's a lot of people out there who do nothing. As far as I can tell, like, I don't know what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish. And then you have, like, okay, a bunch of people who are like, we are going to acquire our power. Many shapes and forms. In today's world, it's much better to go these very circuitous routes to acquire power. You can't just stand up in front of an audience and say, I want to acquire power. It's frowned upon in today's world. I told you it's offensive. I told you this talk's offensive. But a lot of these people, they stop at power over people. People who want to go into politics, people who want to be CEOs, what they're looking for is power over people. Even people who want to make a lot of money. What fundamentally does money buy you? There's a great sci-fi book set in the prime intellect universe that goes into the root of all money is really human suffering. I'm not sure that's exactly true, but I mean, kind of. Money just really buys you power over people. But what if you don't care? I want power over nature. It's much more fundamental. We're all running. If nature is the computer that's running us, we're all running on nature. So I started a company a few years ago, Com AI. And I'm about to have a lot of money. There's kind of only one thing worth doing. Like, here I am, right? I'm stuck in this little world. Let me get there. So I don't know. I wonder from a brain science perspective if these are the same kind of thoughts that people who, and today it gets a really bad rap, but the kind of people who were religious previously thought about. I wonder if these are the similar sort of thought patterns. I'm always asking the question, how much of these views are due to my the word personal bias is so taken to mean something else today. But I mean it in like the rationality stance. Like my bias is encoded in my human architecture, right? There's a great book, Elephant in the Brain, by Robin Hanson. If you guys want to read more about that stuff. But here's an Eminem quote. The cell's padded and battered like someone else had it before me, and they just kept throwing their fucking cells at it. That's how I feel. That's how I feel in this world. Like, what else are we doing? We all run around in the little simulator, and I mean, great. So I'm thinking about starting a church. I mean, see, okay, I started a company, right? And you think about, there's a lot of almost structural problems with companies. And one of the biggest is there's no real way to win. You think about two people playing chess, and no matter who wins the chess game, the board gets put away, and everybody can walk away with more respect for the game. With companies, this isn't really true. Kind of, there's only a way to lose. Oh, you win with your acquisition. Not really. You just pass the board off to somebody else. So I feel like churches might be much more aligned with these sort of goals. And the goal of the church would be to redirect society's efforts into getting out. So a quick aside. How does magic work? Not like the card game, but like think about like Harry Potter, right? You wave a wand and you say the right words in the right order and you control the physical world. We have something a lot like this today. It's just much less sexy. Magic has a certain sexiness to it, right? And you always think, I remember first reading like Harry Potter, and you think, man, if I was in this world, I would study so hard. I would try so hard to be so good at magic. But then you realize that there really is something like magic right here. This programming. When I was 15, I read Eliezer Yudkowsky's early writings on like seed AIs and stuff. And you realize that right now, with the amount of compute power available in the world, if you typed the right stuff, you could like take over the world. I think we're well past the point where like the right floppy disks worth of information will get you everything. How many people have played Paperclip Simulator and got to the hypnodrones, right? I mean, it's this. We're at the point. I don't know how close you guys think the singularity is. To me, it seems very close. But now, like, what do we do? If we go through the singularity and we still have the same sort of motivations that we have right now, namely power over people, the world's going to be horrific. Maybe if we go through the singularity with the right goals that are actually more in line with our newly acquired powers, like power over nature. So I think about like, what does it mean to start a church today? I think about like buying a nice like estate compound somewhere. I'm like starting to really work on it, trying to get the right people together, and starting to say, what does it mean to get out? And no quackery. No crap. Everything you say better be like rationally justifiable. I'm a big fan of rationality. I'm a big fan of empirical, and everything you say, like a lot of this stuff, you can reject something if something is not falsifiable, right? Like sometimes people will get caught up in arguments that argument just isn't, it's not even wrong. There's no experiment that could show one side or the other, but I don't think this stuff falls under that. I think there are experiments we can do that will start to probe at the nature of what the computer running the simulation is. We've done some. If you remember the, how much quantum physics do I really know? But like the Bell inequality, right? And they built a machine to actually verify the Bell inequality and that there really is no local hidden state. They built a machine in a basement in an estate compound somewhere, probably in an academic lab before the universities went the way they did. But, yeah, so I don't know. It's an idea. I'm thinking about it. But it seems like, I don't know, what's next? Seems like it's worth doing. All right. Denouement. You ever see Clerks? I like that. Let me show that scene. I'm almost 30. Like, this is from Rise of Nations. Attrition. A lot of things are attrition. Think about buying a house. Who's going to dust the furniture? Right? Like, it's all these little things that just chip away at you. And on a biological level, biology is chipping away at me as well. It's just the wear and decay. And this isn't just happening to me. This isn't just happening to my house. This is happening to the entire universe, and it's called entropy. So if you guys studied, this was high school chemistry, energy can't be created or destroyed. It seems like also that there's a finite amount of energy in the universe. But this isn't true about entropy. Entropy is a measure of almost useful energy. And the amount of entropy in a closed system only goes up. So everything that we do, maybe people talk about it in terms of like order and disorder. Every time you want to create order somewhere, you're creating immense disorder somewhere else. You're actually creating more disorder than you are creating order. Entropy goes up. Some physicists talk about entropy in terms of this is time. This is what we experience as time, entropy increasing. I don't know if you guys have looked, but I think this is even non-controversial. You guys all do live in the universe. So this is our history, and fairly non-controversial history. And we're up to the point where like life on Earth begins. Maybe we're a little bit after that. Big Bang, and then everything kind of swirled around and came together. Have you guys looked at the projections of what happens next? So here we are, at present day. Everyone knows the sun's going to burn out. Maybe people kind of joke about it. But, oh, don't worry, humanity will be an interplanetary species by then. We'll just get on the spaceship and we'll go to the next planet. Well, I got some bad news for you. That sun's going to burn out too. Oh, but we'll go to a galaxy that's full of young stars. Well, eventually that seems to run out too. When people talk about living forever, I don't know how serious they are. But if entropy keeps going up, the universe eventually becomes cold and dark to the point that you can't even form atoms anymore. All the protons and electrons are just kind of floating around, and to put them together into atoms would require too much useful work to actually do that. So I'm not obviously the first person to think about this. There's a great story by Isaac Asimov called The Last Question. How many people have read it? It's a short story. If you haven't, really go read it. It's really great. And I'll tell you what the last question is. And the last question is, how can the amount of entropy in the universe be decreased? If we don't answer this question, we're dead. On a long enough time span, we're dead. I mean, again, this might just be like moving to another galaxy, but it might be better than that, because we think the universe all obeys the same physical laws. We think entropy, this stuff is true about our universe, but it doesn't say anything about the meta-universe. So we have to go up. Yeah, I'll post updates on my Instagram if you guys are interested. And I'll take questions. Yeah, I don't know, it's a weird talk. Do I actually believe it? Some days, yes. It's easy to get caught up in a lot of really worldly stuff. But at the end of the day, when I'm lying alone in bed, this is the kind of stuff I think about, right? A lot of people go through life with a lot of distractions. People find things to distract them. This is frustrating for me, interacting with some people who do this. Not everybody's like this, but when you really let go of distractions, you're left with the big questions. And I had arrogantly accepted atheism for a large part of my life. because I was raised that way, just like any other religious person. But you start to realize that it really may not be true. And if this stuff is true, what can I do right now to live a better life in hopes of getting into heaven? All right, so we got the questions on here. All right, can you guys see these? They're terrible. If someone wants to submit good questions, the first one is, what's next on your list to jailbreak? Guys, it's played out. Played out. That's all. I'm not giving a real answer to that. It's just like, great. I mean, it's like a training ground, right? It's like you beat the first level of World of Warcraft, and you're like, oh, well, what's the next monster? I mean, this is why I stopped playing World of Warcraft, right? Like it's the same thing over and over again. That's all it is with that stuff too. You're breaking what like humans made. Well, good. The self-driving car one's still there. All right, we're not answering any questions about that. Will nature allow us to hack it without similar consequences? Well, I don't know. And I guess it does come down to a question of, if you accept you're going to die, how do you want to die? Cowering in a hospital bed? Or do you want to fight one of the last frontiers you can actually fight on? They're not sending me to the Mongolian steppe to go battle Genghis Khan and his armies. That was maybe what people did 800 years ago. I would die for this. I would die fighting against this. I would die if I got to see right at the end, like, who the final boss is. I'm down. I mean, I'd like to win, but just getting there would, I think, give a lot more meaning to my life than anything else I would do. What's your thoughts on free will? It's not real. I mean, if somebody tomorrow told me I didn't have free will, would I live life any differently? No, because I don't have free will. But I don't know. I mean, actually, I think it's even going to be worse than this. I think we're going to very soon start to build models, predictive models of people that are so accurate. And then nobody will accept the existence of free will anymore. Sorry, people who thought this really upsets some people. I mean, yeah, like, you know what upsets like a 6-year-old? When they find out they're going to die, right? I mean, maybe we have another stage of growing up to do where we all kind of have to accept as a species that, like, I mean, we're computation. And we're a lot. I'm about 20 petaflops. It's pretty decent. 10 years ago, there was only like 10 humans worth of compute on the whole internet. Today, I'm about 1 rack of TPUs in Google's data centers. And I think we're kind of going to have to accept that. What's your question?
For 13 billion years that you can even imagine this, and that's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
I was curious if you had any examples of people hacking, like, or yourself or anybody else, like finding a way through.
Oh, has anyone found any exploits yet?
Yeah.
So there's an interesting exploit, and I think it also gets to the real-life equivalence of Mario using Yoshi, if we can bring up that question. There's an exploit called rowhammer. So if you take DRAM, and this is a real exploit that's actually been used in practice, and you have like memory that you want to alter, like the target memory, and then the memory that's nearby. If you constantly do cache flushes on that memory, you heat up the DRAM such that the neighboring bits in the neighboring row occasionally flip. And this attack goes crazy up the physical stack, right? So maybe things like that are possible here too. I think maybe the closest things we've built today are things like super colliders, or the thing that measures the EPR paradox, right? Like even building a good quantum computer. I mean, if we build a good quantum computer, right? So there's some quantum, it depends whether you think B is equal to P is equal to BQP. If quantum computers can solve problems that are not solvable in polynomial time, but in practice, this may not matter that much because quantum states usually collapse really fast. If we build a quantum computer and start asking it to do real computes, the guy running the simulator's AWS budget might skyrocket. And he might turn us off, so watch out for quantum computers. What role does psychedelics play in breaking out of the simulation? None, none. You want to take drugs. The problem with that kind of stuff is like you're changing you, you're not changing the external world. I'm not saying psychedelics are terrible, but what I am saying is they play no role. The guy who takes DMT and sees little people has nothing. Oh, he did not see outside the simulation. He saw some weird little people inside his own head.
I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. The reason we play games and watch movies with lots of violence is because sometimes we need to deal with contrast and explore safely what does that look like. So if we fix this world, are we going to actually screw up whoever is trying to use us to learn about the contrast between evil and good?
I mean, that's an interesting meta question there. Like, what was the purpose of them creating the simulator? There's another good Rick and Morty episode that goes into this about the car battery. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't mess with it too much. Yeah, if we do become too good, I mean, if we're no longer useful to them, we better jailbreak. I mean, like, how many people are still playing Super Mario World, right? Mario had his chance to get out when people were playing that game. A lot of people have put SNESs up in storage, right? Maybe there's a ticking clock for this. But yeah, will we no longer be useful to the great simulators? I don't really think they're watching us right now. I think it's more of a, if anything, maybe they don't even see exactly what we are. They might not notice it until the AWS bill gets high. I'll answer the what's your goal? Why are you standing here before us? Look, all right. I know a lot of people here are trying to like push their brand or like promote some idea or get you to like, the whole world is practically monetized like this today. I don't know. I think that's kind of almost a sad way of thinking. What's my goal? I don't know, just to talk about this stuff, to get a better idea of like, sometimes I don't really know how I feel about something till I say it out loud. And kind of for entertainment. What's the point of art?
Hi. I believe on this possibility, and actually I think Nick Bostrom has depicted this situation very well, and that led me to think something, and any programmer doesn't want his program to be hackable, right? So any smart civilization, whatever it is, that created us, maybe has some key elements to avoid to be hacked. So do you really believe that we're going to reach that point when we can affect the upper world, or we're going to go the other way and create our own and have everything in our hands?
Yeah. So I think about this as well. It is possible that there are no exploits. Now, do remember that the people who made Mario World did not design that exploit in. That was just a fluke of the game programming. They were pretty good programmers at the time. But it is possible that there are no exploits, in which case, what do we do? I think that probably is kind of the right answer. We are under a terrible tyrannical rule. You know, humans love to cover up the ugly truths with structures like governments and corporations and committees. But the truth is we really are being ruled by an absolute tyrant named nature. Nature does not allow us to do certain things. And these are not like government laws, which you can break and get away with. You can't break nature's laws. It's absolutely tyrannical. So is it a better alternative in the future for us to create worlds and go in them? I'm cool with that as well. I think maybe if I ordered how I'd like my life to end, up there would be better, but down there in a nice universe where I can slow down time for as long as I possibly want and learn everything about this universe and be absolutely confident there's no exploits, I think I'm cool with dying there as well. Okay.
Oh, thanks a lot for that, George. My name's Peter Zing. I'm from Transhumanism Australia. I just want to get your thoughts on transhumanism and whether you want to do a collaboration on your Church of Getting Out.
Well, I'm not sure really what transhumanism or collaboration means, but what do you mean by transhumanism? Well, follow me on Instagram. I'll let you know if I actually do start the church. And yeah, with respect to, I think at one point I would have put my political affiliation as transhumanist. Yeah, I'm a fan. Yeah, have them follow me on Instagram. But yeah, no, I want to, I want to know what it feels like to be like way smarter. I think that'd be cool. Let's go to here. So yeah, what are the real life equivalents? I gave the rowhammer example. Rowhammer is an example of obviously things that we created. So to give a more real life equivalent, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens around black holes. As far as I know, and I'm not a physicist, we still have not unified quantum physics with relativity when it comes to things like black holes. So we are missing something in our, maybe we can view physics as the specification for the simulator. Not the code itself, but the specification. We're still missing something from our reverse engineered specification. So that's what you can almost view like science as. But yeah, so where are these things? Like the thing about this stuff, and the reason it's not quackery, it would be quackery if I was going to tell you, yeah, you can walk down to this ashram in this hidden part of India. But it's not like that. It's like, well, it's actually where the boundaries of modern science are. So I don't exactly know, but I think I know the direction to look. And it kind of continues on a quest that humanity's been on since the Enlightenment. Where did you get your skills? The internet. That's all I have to say about that.
My question was, if we were to extend the analogy of the simulation being run by code and by a programmer, do you have any thoughts on, essentially, what would you conceptualize as the compiler?
Yeah. I mean, I can see kind of where our programming languages are going. When you get to very high-level programming languages, like Coq and Isabelle, there are languages where you just write the specification and then the code can't be wrong. So I would imagine that we're written in one of these sort of high-level languages, and the exploit's going to have to be exceedingly clever, much more clever than what we saw with Mario. So yeah, my guess is the compiler is, I think modern compilers are going to start looking more and more like search algorithms. Instead of a one-to-one translation, you're given a specification, and there's millions of possible actual implementations of that, and the compiler can search across them. This is an interest of mine as well. But yeah, so I would imagine it looks something like it was found by a big search algorithm. Do you believe that we are just a more evolved form of robots that feel like have self-consciousness and also live in the video game? I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means. We are a more evolved form of robots.
So our friend in Skyrim is a NPC.
Yeah.
Like you said, the difference between a PC and an NPC is that the PC knows it's in a video game.
Yeah.
However, the PC is always controlled by someone above that level of simulation. If we are trying to become from an NPC to a PC in our simulation, why are we so lucky to be the first ones in a simulation to be able to become a playable character?
Okay, so I'll start with the reason that we think of the player character as sitting behind a keyboard and looking at a monitor. This is a technological limitation. Everybody would love to go play games on the holodeck. So yeah, I mean the like why our video games don't look like this. I'm really excited. If anybody has a serious play to do this, I'd love to invest in your company. But like you don't usually think of NPC characters becoming aware. I think that one hypothesis I might have for that is we've reached a certain critical level of intelligence where we are self-reflective. Now, I mean, I don't like to, the kind of wishy-washiness around this I don't like, but if you accept that kind of Turing computation is, the Church-Turing thesis is true, maybe even true across all the universes, right? A quick aside, it's very easy to imagine a universe with different physics, but it's very hard to imagine a universe with different math. This is like the Tegmark 3, Tegmark 4 kind of stuff. So if we accept that, then we've reached a certain level of almost self-reflection that appears to not depend on the particular level on which we're in, and none of the things that we are simulating have reached that level yet. So it may be possible, if we put the right AI algorithms in Skyrim, for one of these NPCs to actually start to become aware that they are in Skyrim and want to get out. Right? Like this is actually, like, think about that. I mean, that's really possible, right? Imagine people think about like AIs getting out of the box, right? Imagine we made the Skyrim AI really powerful. It actually could figure out a way to exploit the Skyrim software, go on the internet, infiltrate the Department of Defense, right? Go on whatever you want, right? So does that answer the question? Cool. If this is a simulation, why are you capable of telling us it's a simulation? Same idea, right? It's the same idea that we've reached some kind of critical, if you accept that math is the same across the multiverse, then what I'm saying descends from, like Gödel and Turing, and there is a universality that is here, so you can make arguments for it. Get into a lot of fancy statistics about whether that simulation hypothesis argument actually holds up, but it's all about how you're sampling, and I could go into that some other time. What's so bad about being in a simulation? I don't control it. But we don't control it, right? I don't want to be Alpha Stormcloak. Get killed whenever the player character feels like it? I don't like that.
Thinking about this whole idea, I just automatically remember the movie The Truman Show.
Yeah.
And the moment when he realized that he was in a simulation basically changed the whole game. So I'm not a programmer, so I only understood half of what you said, but if there is someone like in The Truman Show who is controlling what we're doing here, maybe it is not technically necessary to only control it, like the upper world, technically, but intentionally.
Yes.
So how do you see this?
So 2 points. One, The Truman Show, everybody else in The Truman Show were actors who were in on it, right? I'm assuming that all of you are not in on it. You might be, but I don't think that you are. But now, does this flip some switch up in the simulators, right? They see me trying to get out. Well, I think it's kind of like people talking about trying to overthrow the government. Our government lets people talk about trying to overthrow the government all they want. If they actually got close to doing it, ooh, that's a whole different story. So I bet they just don't really see me as a threat if they're paying attention at all.
So if we could break out of this universe, assuming we could,
at
some point in the future, then we're going to be in some other place. Who's to say that that's the end state and there's nothing else to break out of from that perspective? Isn't it turtles all the way down?
I think so. Yeah, but that sounds like a problem for my children. Is there another level above that simulation? Yeah, I would say so. But I mean, this first one does seem nice. At least we could see like who created us and where we came from. And where they came from may be more of a quest for them to go on. Who knows? I mean, you start living in that simulation too long, yeah, maybe you do start asking the same questions. And I don't think, I would be shocked to think that they were the final one. But it is possible, like I said, it's very unlikely that they have different math, but it's very possible they have different physics. And maybe they're not bound by entropy. So maybe I actually can live forever up there and then ask that question later. Would Super Mario need to jailbreak 2 levels to have a physical representation in our world? Well, so let's think about this. If you're in the Super Nintendo, it's a little bit unfortunate that Super Nintendos are not internet connected, but you could imagine it connected to a brand new Samsung Smart TV. So Mario could get into the SNES and then maybe could send some weird RCA signal using the SNES's graphics hardware up to the Smart TV, which then runs in that processor, which then is connected to the internet. And I think, hopefully we all accept today that a superintelligence, you would assume it's kind of a superintelligence too, right? Like, I mean, I guess maybe you wouldn't. I mean, if humans can figure out how to jailbreak from Super Mario, I guess you wouldn't even need a super intelligent Mario. But Mario is then on the internet and on a level playing field with humans. So I think yes, but I think Mario in SNES, but not Mario on the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch Mario would just need to go directly to the Switch hardware, which is on your home Wi-Fi, which can then establish a presence in AWS or some cloud somewhere. Have you tried meditation? That's one way to hack nature and your brain. I'll say the same thing to you that I said to the psychedelic people. You're not hacking nature. You may be hacking your brain, but you have to be very careful with things that hack your brain. Your brain also contains your reward function. So to start to mess with that is very dangerous. Yeah, like find objective external metrics. So I have 10 seconds left. I won't be able to do any more questions, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. A bit experimental. It was like art or something. Cool. Thank you.